And it all began nearly 4 years ago. Tunisia faced high unemployment, food prices were going through the roof, there was corruption everywhere, and to top it all off, a lack of freedom of speech, and people were living in poor, sometimes squalid living conditions. So, on the 18th of December 2010, people began to fight back. It was the start of the Arab Spring, which spread from Tunisia across other nations like Egypt and Libya. Unlike Egypt and Libya, though, Tunisia since has enjoyed relative stability. Yes, there's been civil unrest. Yes, there have been militant attacks. But the country has reached a new round of elections, the first under its new constitution, with the once dominant moderate Islamist Party Ennahda accepting it has lost in the last few hours in favour of the country's main secular opposition party, Nidaa Tounes. But why? And will it bring stability? You're watching the France 24 debate. I'm Stuart Norval. Thanks for being with us on the programme. Good to have you with us, sitting here for François Picard today. I've got three guests who are going to join me. Firstly, delighted to have her with us from Tunis, Yousra Ghannouchi from the Ennahda Party. She's also daughter of the party founder, Rachid Ghannouchi. Also joining me here on set, hopefully shortly anyway, Jalila Hedley-Pounier, who's a civil society activist, expert in international humanitarian development. And in our studio in Tunis is Lofty Maktouf, a Tunisian lawyer and founder of Al Mad'Anya, which is an organisation which aims to help and develop Tunisia after the revolution. Thanks very much to all of you for joining me. I'm going to go, first of all, in fact, to Yousra. Oh, apparently we have a problem. So we'll go to a report, first of all. We'll come to the guests in just a moment.
Some Tunisian newspapers were already declaring victory on Monday morning. We voted and we won, headlined Al Sarri, which backs secular group Nidaa Tounes. The party themselves were cautiously optimistic.
We have positive indicators that show that Nidaa Tounes, with God's will be in the first position.
By early afternoon, Islamist group Ennahda had conceded defeat and called for a national unity government. The chances of that will depend on the size of Nidaa Tounes' lead. The bigger it is, the more likely they may decide they can do without the Islamists. The poll defied threats of jihadist attack and exceeded much international expectation. Just a year ago, the government thrown up by the 2011 revolution seemed to be on the edge of collapse after the murder of two secular politicians by Islamist extremists. But the poverty and unemployment that sparked the Arab Spring have not gone away.
Regarding our country's economy, I think we're way behind. We need people who can do better, who have ideas and ambitious plans.
Both main parties have promised broadly similar plans to create jobs. The final results aren't due until October 30th.
So let's talk to our guest joining us then from Tunis. It's Yousra Ghannouchi from the Ennahda Party. Would you say this is a rejection of Ennahda then?
This is a victory for Tunisia holding these very important elections. We cannot overestimate the importance of these elections, and Ennahda regards this as a victory for Tunisia and a victory for itself because of the major contribution made by Ennahda Party through its commitment to dialogue, compromise, and placing Tunisia's interests before its own to reach these very important second free and fair elections in Tunisia's history.
To be frank, though, it's not a victory for the party, though, is it? I mean, Ennahda was expected really to do very well, perhaps even win, or probably even win these elections, and it hasn't done.
We believe we've done very well, considering the turnout, which is lower than 2011, and considering the very difficult post-revolution transition period. We have more or less maintained our percentage that we received last time, and Ennahda continues and will continue to play an essential role in Tunisia's transition to democracy.
You may say you can play a central role, but it's not going to be the central role, is it?
The Tunisian people have voted, it seems, for not having one major party and a fragmentation of the political scene, but to have voted for two major parties, and that is Nidaa Tounes and Ennahda Party.
So what do you think Nidaa Tounes will do now? Where will they take the country?
We hope that all parties will work together to consolidate the successes made in Tunisia, to consolidate Tunisia's democratic transition, and to focus on meeting the great challenges facing Tunisia.
But why do you think people have turned against you? I mean, you mentioned that you still had the same share of the vote, but you were expected to win, and you haven't done. So there obviously have been some people who've decided to vote elsewhere. What's put them off, if you like, from voting for you?
Things have changed from last time. First, as I said, in all post-revolutionary transitions, circumstances are very difficult, and the party that leads the transition, despite the achievements and successes, will, not be able to meet all expectations raised, and will, suffer a reduction in its popularity at the polls. Secondly, the other difference is that in the last elections, there was no other main rival that has united much of the fragmented parties. So considering those changes, not much has changed in terms of support for Ennahda party. And regardless, we will continue to play a positive, constructive role in Tunisia's transition to democracy.
But do you not think you need to look at your own policies to try and work out where you've gone wrong and change some of them? And if so, which policies?
As I've said, expectations were very high, and we were not able to meet all of them. However, the main demand of establishing democracy in Tunisia, achieving a great, progressive, inclusive constitution in Tunisia, and reversing the downward spiral in the economy of 2011 that we saw after the revolution. Great successes have been made, particularly on the political front, and now the focus should be on the other demand of the revolution, which is dignity for all Tunisians, by focusing on the pressing demands of Tunisians.
I understand what you're saying about the future for Tunisia. I mean, it obviously sounds like the right kind of things to be saying in this kind of situation. But I would like to ask you or press you a little bit more about Ennahda itself, because it still seems as though people have turned to a certain extent away from Ennahda. But you must be able to come up with some kind of ideas about why that might have happened and what the party can now do to make sure that people come back and vote for them next time around.
Yes, as I've said, we will be looking at our performance and evaluating it, and we have been doing that, and that is reflected in the program presented by us in the electoral campaign. And the electoral campaign has been, very successful, and as I've said, we're very satisfied with the results we've had, considering the difficult transition period, and regardless, we will continue to use the experience we have had and the approach we have demonstrated over the last 4 years of positive, constructive partnership with everyone to place Tunisia's interest above partisan interests and focus on continuing the successes made in Tunisia and establishing Tunisia as a prosperous democratic country.
OK, we'll come back and talk a little bit more in just a few moments' time. First, though, let's have a look at this report. It's basically a report about what's happened over the last 3 years in Tunisia, in fact, since the revolution of 2011. This report from Josh Vardy.
Following weeks of demonstrations, Tunisia's dictator was driven from power in January 2011. Ben Ali's fall triggered a number of similar protest movements across the region, collectively known as the Arab Spring. Close to 4 years later, the country is still being rebuilt. Islamist group Ennahda, who were banned under Ben Ali, won the country's first elections post-dictatorship. But Tunisia soon sunk into crisis. Social and economic problems combined with a disintegrating security situation. 2013 saw the arrival of militant jihadists, and 2 secular leaders of the opposition were murdered the same year. Ennahda was accused of being too sympathetic to the extremists. Disillusionment soon replaced hope.
They presented themselves as new people, people with clean hands, who would revolutionize the system by making it more moral, which would provide dignity to the Tunisians. People have a lot to be disappointed about from that point of view.
Despite being continually at odds with one another, politicians managed to adopt a constitution in January 2014. Legislative elections were organised for October, followed by presidential elections in November. Ennahda officials have promised a peaceful transition.
We saved the country. We have a constitution and now an electoral body. We have accomplished some of the goals of the revolution, but we need a second chance to achieve other goals, like development and social justice.
With violence flaring up in the country's east and the economy in crisis, the new government faces many challenges. However, Tunisia remains a model of democracy in comparison to its neighbours. Libya has descended into chaos and Egypt has fallen under a repressive military government.
Josh Vardy there, you're watching the France 24 debate. Good to have you with us. If you were with us just a few moments ago, you know that we've been talking to Yusra Ghannouchi from the Ennahda Party, who's been joining us from Tunis. Also joined from there by Lofty Maktouf, a Tunisian lawyer and founder of Almad Anya, which is an organisation which aims to help and develop Tunisia after the revolution. Thanks very much for being with us. Lofty Maktouf, I was asking our other guest why people have turned away from Ennahda and why people have turned to the more secular party. What reason do you think there's been for this turnaround?
Well, they have had a chance to see Ennahda at work, and they were able to actually judge their actions. There was a potential increase in there was even more challenging economic situation. Of course, lack of harmony, and, lack of reform, lack of vision in every aspect, be it education, or even financial and tax reform, banking reform,
anything. And what happened is that there was a mounting sense of frustration, which ended up culminating with this expression of a clear opinion against what was going on. I would like to mention that this has been done through the ballot, the vote, which is to the honor and the credit of Tunisians.
And do you think
the reason a clear voice has been... Please.
Sorry, I was just going to say, do you think it's a definitive end now to Ennahda's rule? I mean, at the same time, Ennahda could easily come back again, couldn't they? I mean, there's no sign that the party is completely disintegrated at all.
Well, not Ennahda, but two of its satellites are totally disintegrated, namely Takatul and another small party, which, of course, according many people, a creation of Ennahda, which is the Congress for the Republic. But, I mean, why jump to this conclusion? The purpose of this democratic exercise is not to eliminate another party, as much as it is to actually reflect the opinion of the people. And there's no issue with Ennahda per se. They have been clearly, they have received a clear message that their model won't work. Maybe in another 5 years they'll try something else. But a model combining Islam and politics, a model using faith to pretend finding solutions to the economic issues is wrong. And everyone has been saying that economy and security are the two main demands to which the electorate has been looking for an answer.
How would you react to that, Yusra Ghannouchi, who's also been joining us from Tunis? You were hearing there the sentiment that actually the problem for Ennahda was that religion was involved as well, and people didn't want religion, they wanted just plain politics.
Clearly, the fact that we have received over 30%, we're waiting for confirmation of results, shows that there is established great support for Ennahda as a political party that is committed to a civil state, to democracy, to development and social justice. The issue is not ideology. As I've said, despite the race expectations and the very difficult post-revolution situation in Tunisia and in a very unstable region, Ennahda and its partners' performance in the economic field has been superior to its predecessor and successor governments. Under Ennahda-led coalition, Tunisia's growth rate was 3.5%, while under the government of the leader of Nidaa Tounes in 2011, it was minus 2.2%, and under the technocratic government, it was 3%. Similarly, unemployment is still high, but it was reduced under the Ennahda-led government from 19% when we took office to nearly 15%. So these problems are deeply rooted problems due to decades of mismanagement and corruption. And we have made a good start in reforming the economy, but these problems will take more than 2 or 3 years to resolve.
Okay, I'm going to have to interrupt you there because we're almost out of time, and I've just been joined here on set by Jalila Hedley-Pounier, who unfortunately got stuck in traffic, but you've made it just for the end of the discussion that we've had here. So thank you very much for coming in. What do you think is next for Tunisia? I mean, as both our guests have said so far, we have had these successful elections, which perhaps is the most important thing here.
Yes, the next step is a major step because it's the step of the building. It's for 5 years we need to have a stable government, which will need to take the important actions to build the main stone, the main stone of Tunisia, because it needs to tackle now the main issues that have not been tackled by the Troika government, like the transitional justice, and first the economy and the security too. So they need to lay a proper program. They have a big challenge, and at the same time, now we have like the bipolar political scene. So we will have that kind of check and balance, and that's nice to see here now in Tunisia. Democracy. Democratic scene. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming in. I'm sorry it's so short, but unfortunately we've run out of time. But it was good to get you here just for that word right at the end. Jalila Hedley-Pounier, who's a civil society activist. Thanks as well to our other guests joining us from Tunis for today's France 24 debate. The debate's going to carry on, though, after the break, because we're going to change the subject, though, because we're going to talk about Ukraine right after the break. So stay with us for that if you possibly can.